Now, what they did was they called it extended remote viewing, and it was nothing more than you sort of visualize. They put a picture in an envelope, and you sort of go down into like a meditative state, self-hypnotic state, and you get visuals, and then you write down what you see. So that's what I did.
How did you get selected for the remote viewing program?
Well, what happened was I had found out through my sister's astrologer that I had found out that Army intelligence, where I was working, had these psychics, remote viewers. I didn't know it, so I asked to meet General Stubblebine to see if I really wanted to go to the job. But then I got in trouble with my command, I guess because I skipped my chain of command. My immediate chain of command got very upset with me. And then General Stubblebine was retiring, so I thought that, well, I wouldn't be able to go. But then he retired in 1984, and everybody thought that that the psychics, the remote viewing program, would go away. But Dr. Verona picked it up in 1985 and transferred everything to Defense Intelligence Agency. In January 1986, I got approached by the people at Fort Meade. They sent someone down to interview me for the job, and it took 6 months to get from Army intelligence to the Defense Intelligence Agency to work as a remote viewer. They interviewed me, I did personality tests, and my clearances had to be sent from Army to DIA.
What was the interview like?
Just a personality test. Just general questions, but I think General Stubblebine told them to hire me. So as far as the interview, I figured I was going because it was the type of program that you couldn't apply for. It was a special access program. You couldn't apply for it. They took people. If you met somebody and you thought they could fit in the unit, that's how they were brought in. So I'm sure if a general called like the commander up at Fort Meade, who was the head of the remote viewers, and said to bring me on, I'm sure they would have listened to him because he was a general.
Okay. At what point did they ask why they thought you would be, did they ask why you thought you would be a good addition to the program?
No, they just gave me this personality. They kept giving me personality tests, and they kept asking me all these questions. But the personality test, I don't know. I don't know why I think they took me because the general said to take me, because I ended up being, on the test, I ended up being like a judging person. And they're saying that perceptive people make better remote viewers. So I think it was just an exercise to just, well, we interviewed her and she seems okay and we'll bring her in. But actually, when I got there, they really didn't want me there because of my automatic writing. They said it was a bad habit.
Really?
Yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, and I got in trouble with my bosses by going to the general. So they gave me a hard time, and I was very uncomfortable for a long time, and I was in trouble. So that made me very uncomfortable. So when I went, from 1984 to July of 1986, before I went to the program, I was still working as a Central American analyst. Now, when I went to Fort Meade, my very first day of work, I was met by the operations officer. And I said, hi, I'm Angela Ford. It was the first time I met him. And he said, I know who you are. And he said, and I've heard about you. And he said, you have a bad habit. He said, we're going to teach you the right way to be psychic. Well, at that point, I wasn't going to argue with him because I knew what it was like to be in trouble by going over the chain of command. So I didn't want to be in trouble again. I said, okay, whatever. Okay, it's a bad habit. Okay, it's a bad habit. What do you want me to do, So what happened was these military people, they were all learning this coordinate remote viewing. Now, they put me with a trainer. They put me with this man. His name was Gene. And Gene was a civilian, and he worked in Germany. He used to be in the military, and then he worked as a civilian, and he worked in Germany. And if you're a civilian and you work overseas, you're only allowed to work so many years, 5 years. So 5 years were up, and Gene needed a job. So he called the commander of the remote viewers, and he said, "Hey, I need a job." And the commander said, "Well, come on down here. I'll get you a job." They made him a trainer. So I don't think this guy, he didn't have much experience with psychics or, he just needed a job because he needed a job. So they put me with him because he needed somebody to train, because all the military people were doing training under another trainer. So they put me with the trainer, Gene, because he needed somebody to train. Well, when Gene found out I was doing automatic writing and the people didn't like it, then he was giving me a hard time. He goes, "You can't do what, we're going to teach you the right way." So I said, okay, so what are we going to do here? Now, what they did was they called it extended remote viewing, and it was nothing more than you sort of visualize. They put a picture in an envelope, and you sort of go down into like a meditative state, self-hypnotic state, and you get visuals, and then you write down what you see. So that's what I did. That's what I did. And they called it extended remote viewing. And while I was waiting for my clearances to be passed from Army Intelligence to DIA to go work as a psychic, I picked up this book. It was called The Silva Mind Control by Dr. Silva. And in it, he taught, it was very close to the extended remote viewing. He taught about how you can go down and visualize, like if I want to pick up information on you, I would go down and I would visualize you. No, what I would do is I would turn on the TV. Okay. Now I'm going to watch Shawn. So in my mind, I turn on a TV and then I see you. And then I pick up information about you. And then when I'm done, I turn the TV off, and then I come back and I say, this is what I picked up on you. That's what, or you can do it with pictures. And so I read this Silva Mind Control, and then so when I went to work for the unit, they were calling it extended remote viewing, and it was the same thing that I read in the book. So I would, in my mind, whenever I was working the training targets, I'd just turn on the TV and describe the picture and come out and do it.
Wow.
So that's how I was doing. But no, I wasn't going to argue with them. They did not want me to do my automatic writing. And being in trouble before, and oh my goodness. So I did that.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.